up? What's going on, everybody? I am super excited to be with you guys. Guess what? We're on YouTube. I know. Yes, this is where we are. Listen, share, like, subscribe. I feel like I'm like the other influencers. Like, please make sure you like, subscribe, and comment on my channel. Listen, I'm super glad to have you guys here. Those of you who may be catching the replay at this point, welcome. Thank you for coming back to my page. I greatly appreciate you. You guys, tonight is going to be really, really good. Make sure your wig is on tight. These my locks, these mine, sorry. Okay, make sure your wig is on tight. We don't need nobody losing edges, okay? Because it's going to be good, okay, with a T. Good, okay? Listen, tonight before we jump in, just a quick reminder. Look, these are your church announcements, okay? Listen, number one, okay, my Instagram page was hacked. They decided they wanted to post something today. Whoop, whoop. We don't care. We have moved on. Listen, it was hacked. It ain't me. Don't believe what you see. Don't believe what you hear. Don't believe what they say. Okay? Just move on. Okay? I have a new Instagram page. You can find that name right here, right next to my actual name. And that's where my new Instagram page is. And guess what? We done talk about it. I'm moving on. Okay? Don't DM me. Don't at me. It ain't me. I don't want to know nothing about it. Okay? And we're done. Second thing we're going to talk about before we get in tonight, my family has started a scholarship. And listen, we are super excited to be able to bless some graduate students at the Alabama State University, where I graduated from. So listen, if you would like to contribute to the scholarship, you can do so. All you have to do is head to my Twitter page, head to my Instagram page. The link is in my bio and the instructions on how to give. Okay, it's all there. And guess what? It's tax deductible. So go ahead and do it for your business. Give me some tens of thousands. I sure appreciate you. You can go ahead and do that. And guess what? All funds go directly to students. Every cent down to $100. I have to maintain a certain balance in the scholarship account so that we can do it again next year. But everything that is given, my husband and I have committed to $1,000, but everything that is given will be given directly to the students, placed on that account. They're gonna love it when it hit. It's gonna be like the 1st or the 15th for some of y'all that y'all are slaves to. We'll get to that in another episode. Anyway, tonight I have the amazing, the beautiful, the talented, the soldier, the mom, the wife, the entrepreneur, the doula, the sexologist. I have it all in one person. Let me tell you something. I can't even tell you how long I've known Cami. A long time. Okay. A long time. And guess what? It's hard to find good people, y'all. But Cami, she good people. And when you find good people, you hold on to them. You feel me? So ladies and gentlemen, okay, without further ado, the beautiful, the talented, the smart, the educated, the kind, the loving Cami Nelson. I sure appreciate you joining me tonight, love bug. How you doing? You're on mute. Hold on. I did that.
I'm good. Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction. That was awesome. Got me feeling all
I mean, as the kids say, no lies detected. You know what I'm saying? No lies detected. So listen, we're going to jump right on in. And we always start with the same 3 questions so you can get your answer going. Okay. Tell people who you are.
Okay.
All the many things you do, because you wear a lot of hats. Who you are, what you do, okay, and why you do it. Who you are, what you do, and why you do it. Go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Cami Nelson. I am a soldier. Of course, I'm a mommy. I'm a wife. I am a doula, full spectrum doula. So what full spectrum goes into, it is a sex doula, fertility doula, birth doula, labor, and postpartum doula. I am a life coach. I am, and also the whole thing with the life coach as well, I am also a business coach. So if someone wants to start their business and they're just having some struggle issues as far as like how to get started, what all do I need, the proper way, the right way, I come in and I help you and get you started. And if you need some ideas, we can do that too. And, just to get you on a fresh start, because one thing about it, we want those demographic and photographic targets. I want to know what's going to make your business different than the other business, because that's what people is looking for. It's all about the experience, darling. So
Yes.
that's what that's pretty much sums up majority of what it is that I do. Why do I do it?
Now, that's the good question right there.
So I do it for a lot of reasons. Um, the first reason I do it is because I love helping people. That's my biggest thing. I love helping people, and I just love to see the beautiful outcome of taking something that started small, like God said, small as mustard seed, and just seeing that fruitate into something. And I think that's just the biggest reward, is seeing someone coming in confused or just uneasy about something, and then seeing that beautiful reward. And I do that with everything that I do, whether it's you having a baby, whether it's you getting into your self-love and things of that sort, all the way into just everything. So that's my biggest thing. I love helping people, and throughout all of that, I found out that that's my passion. And there's nothing better than doing what you feel is your passion, because then when you're doing that, I don't feel like I'm working.
Right. It don't feel like work.
Yeah, it's just so easy, and I just really love it. And I think our voices have to be heard, and we just need there's so much out here that needs to be done, and some things we're behind on and some things we're ahead of, but we're trying to get everybody together on one accord. Everybody got to sing on one accord, or it's not gonna sound too cute. Okay. So that's my thing.
Yes. And you know what? You said a couple of things that I want to kind of dig into just a little bit. But first and foremost, the idea of wearing many hats, because I think a lot of us currently, especially in the space we're in as mamas, or, maybe some dads out there who are home with the kiddos, the balancing act of trying to do it all. I mean, because you named so many spaces where you're tending to others and caring for others. So what is it that you're doing to create the balance between all the areas that you're navigating in your life right now?
So one thing that I had to create was a battle rhythm. And when you get military, you know the deal. So yeah, it's creating a battle rhythm. You have to create a schedule for you and your family, um, because things can get very ugly if it doesn't. You want to make sure I want to make sure that I give enough time to Violet. I want to make sure I give enough time to my husband Troy, and then I also have to cut out that time for me. And then everything else kind of like falls in place, and then of course we got to give time for God. Okay. Because without him, it wouldn't even be possible, so just going through just all of those things, just you have to create time for everything. And then um the art of learning to say no, that can be very hard sometimes, because when you get so caught up into things and it's like, oh man, like that's a great opportunity, but you already have something else that's planned. Sometimes you have to say no, and you have to be okay with saying no and know why you're saying no.
Right. Now, that's one of the biggest things that I talk to my clients about. As you know, I'm a coach as well. And one of the things that gets in the way for a lot of people is, many of us are blessed with multiple gifts.
Right.
And we can wear all these hats as you're doing, but we don't know how to say no. We don't know the power in that no, the power in saying, I'm not available, or, hey, I have plans.
Yeah.
Or just saying, and even if your plans is you taking a bath and soaking in the tub, it doesn't matter. They're your plans. It doesn't matter what the plans are, but I have them. I have the plans, even if the plan is to do nothing. And I'm reading a book right now by Priscilla Schreier called Breathe. And one of the biggest things she talks about is the importance of a Sabbath, creating specific time designated to yourself, to the stillness, to the focus, to the nothingness of something, and because a lot of us, people like me, and talk about myself, who always feel like they have to be on the go, have to be on the move, have to be doing something. And when they sit still, they feel lazy.
Yeah.
And it's not laziness,
Yeah.
it's self-care.
It is.
It's it's healing for you to be able to be still. So what are you doing? I know you said that you're making sure you're creating that space for yourself. Talk about it, a few of the things. I know some of them, but talk about a few of the things you're doing in your self-care space, to make sure you have power in your no, and that your mindset is really where it needs to be to kind of achieve all of your goals.
So it's funny you say that. So we are beach bums and we love, 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 love the beach. We just love water, period. And so one of the things that we do is we all have it's called the beach breathing technique. And so what we do is we all lay down on the floor, and it's breathing to the point where your breath in and your breath out actually sounds like the water at the beach. So you're going in and going out. And that those are the waves crashing and everything else. And when you're blowing out, let all of that stuff that needs to crash. And it is just one of the most relaxing things that you can do, because sometimes we get so caught up in, it's like, oh man, I got this 5 minutes right here. Either I can relax, or I can go and clean up Violet's plate because she just made a mess. And it's like, what do I take this 5 minutes to do? And sometimes, although I want to go and clean up that plate, it's more beneficial for me to just take that 5 minutes and just relax. Take myself to the beach, do a couple of waves and things of that sort just to hear it. And then I pick up from there and I go. Of course, other things that I like to do is I love music. So I would turn music on and I dance and I sing. And regardless of if it's on tune or on beat, hey, just let me be. Just let me be for that moment, and just let me just go and just do what I want to do. So that's kind of those are like the two main things that I do. But then also too, like I make sure like I take like a bath, and like I have like these candles that I order, and I just learned how to make them. And what happens is while you're burning them, they actually turn to oil. And then when I get out of the bath, honey, I just oil myself, and I just think that oh,
Yes, Cami.
and
I love it.
I just feel just, I don't know, it just takes me there. And
Yeah.
like I walk around, and then we have hardwood floors. I did mess up, put too much oil on the bottom of my feet. I did a little Flintstone thing. I was just like, oh my gosh. But I was able to maintain. But yeah, like you have to take out time for yourself, and that can be a plethora of things. Like I said, just taking the time out just to breathe. Sometimes it could be just going on a ride, just circling 285, just driving to work, no music, just processing thoughts and just kind of putting things in order. And I do that very often. That's actually how I plan out my day when I'm driving to work sometimes. It's just listening, just not listening to anything, and just letting the music play, and just like, okay, you know what? I have forgot about that. But you know what? Let me put that in my memory bank. And okay, all right, that's number 3 now. Okay, cool. And I just go with it from there. So
And that's a great way to navigate spaces. I mean, one of the tools that I constantly use from my military experience is backwards planning. Like it's the best thing I ever learned in my life, because I literally use it probably every day.
yeah.
They're like, oh, okay, that's what you want to do. Now what's the end? Okay, now how do we get there? Let's put some steps in place to make sure we can actually achieve, attain, get to the goal. And I think that a lot of us sometimes forget that part, the planning, the scheduling. We want to jump to the success. We want to jump to, it already being done. And there's a process. I used to sing with a group, and Michael Mahaffey and Deliverance. And one of the songs, I never forget this song. It's called Process. And it says, though it hurts so bad,
Uh-huh.
It's for my good. Process. I wouldn't change it if I could. Now the man wrote that song. Now that thing, he wrote that one. Now if he ain't write nothing else, he wrote that one, and it was a great song because it still rings within me every time I face something that may be challenging.
Right.
I say, though it hurts so bad,
Mm-hmm.
it's for my good. Process. I wouldn't change it if I could because process is so necessary. And you, of course, have many processes and procedures in place because of all the things you do, but you're a doula. And that's a really, really big deal because we're in a time and a season and space where Black women have to be very cautious about birthing babies and people don't want to talk about it and don't want to say it, but we are dying at much higher or much more alarming rates than women of other races and colors and creeds and genders, whatever you want to say. We're the ones losing our lives more
Right.
birthing our children. And so the idea that women in Black and brown communities or biopic Black indigenous people of color can birth babies at home safely
Yes.
and still feel, I want to say, revitalized or
Yes.
cared for,
Yes.
is an amazing space. So talk a little bit about your experience just as a doula.
Yeah. So it's very funny how I came into the whole thing of actually becoming a doula. You know how like sometimes you've been doing some things and then sometimes you don't even know that that's a real job, So um I've been helping people like with babies like for ever since I was in high school. And like again, I never knew that it was such a thing as a doula until 5 6 years ago. And um of course I was one of those people who like when I grew up, like I didn't want to have kids. Like I was just like, I'm fine, people who have kids, they can have them and that's fine. I have a dog and I'm fine. But as time grew on and of course relationships and things of that sort, of course I was just like, I would love to have a little chocolate chinky eye baby that looks like me that's running around, right? And so fast forward into now, going through the process of me being a 36-year-old Black female pregnant for the first time, and I did not know it was so much work. I'm talking about just finding the right provider. Just I think let's just go back to the beginning. I think the first thing is women have to know what type of birth it is that they want. They have to know, kind of like what you were saying, that backwards planning. Hey, I know that I want to have this type of birth, whether it be natural, rather and we're going to go into this whole natural thing, whether it be at home, at a hospital, wherever. That's the first thing that they need to come up with. And from there, you need to backwards plan. And the reason I say that is because you need to make sure that your doctor is in a line with what it is that you're seeking. So here I am, 36 years old, pregnant for the first time. First doctor that I was going to, once we got to the point, and I was just like, hey, I was just like, what hospital, um, are you connected with as far as like where do you work out of as far as delivering babies? And the first doctor was just like, oh, we're on the north side. And I was just like, okay. Anybody know anything about Northside Hospital? They have the highest C-section rate, but also too, they are the number one producing hospital for babies in the United States. So I was just like, okay, well, I asked, what are my other options? What are my options for having a water birth? What are my options for having a birth at home? And there were none. So I was just like, wow, like, how does this work? And so it took me actually getting with some other young ladies to actually find out that although, yeah, it's military insurance, I have rights. And I can go out here and I can explore different doctors and that's going to allow me to have what it is that I want, that's going to be within medical care and things of that sort. So did some research, called a bunch of doctors, called a bunch of midwifery practices, and I think we interviewed 7 doctors until we actually got to Dr. Books Taylor. And just his cool, calm demeanor. Like he was just so cool. And he was just like, hey, whatever it is you want to do, you can do it. And I was just like, you sure? And he was just like, yeah, it's all right. Just enjoy your pregnancy. And I was just like, this guy is just too cool for school. Okay. So long story short, here it is. Like I said, 36 and pregnant. um Dr. Boots Taylor allowed me to go 42 and 3. So I was 42 weeks and 3 days when Violet actually came earthside. And that, like, most people tell me, they're just like, well, that's unheard of. And I'm just like, well, is it? Because your due date is an estimate, unless did IVF and things of that sort. Like, you don't have, everything is an estimate. And then on top of that too, it's all about your body, how your body deals with it, how you take care of your body, and what you do while you're hosting. So while you're hosting that baby, of course, you make sure that you're taking care of yourself, and you make sure that baby is well taken care of, and then you just kind of just go through the whole process. So shout out to Dr. Woods Taylor. He's retired now. But but that really pushed me over the edge to really get out here and say, hey, you know what, you're nearing retirement, and I think this is your transition right here. We had an awesome delivery. I was induced, and we still was able to have Violet, no meds, and she still came on up through here. Two push, she was here.
Yeah. And that's a big part of it too, that people, there's a lot of shaming that happens, with the way people deliver their babies. And a lot of people, when they say natural birth, and people say, oh, but did you get an epidural?
Right.
That's technically a vaginal birth if you still have your baby vaginally, but a natural birth would mean without any medicine or anything like that. It doesn't make your birth wrong.
Right.
Doesn't make your birth any different, but the naming of what type of birth you had is different. Most people just say, oh, I had a vaginal birth.
Right.
The baby came out the vagina,
Right.
and did I have some help? Maybe. Did I have some? I don't know. But when people say natural birth, they're thinking you had a baby without medication. And so a lot of people don't understand like that terminology
Right.
of, natural birth, vaginal birth, VBAC,
Right.
and I had a friend who, by the grace of God, was able to have a VBAC. And it was beautiful because she fought for what she wanted.
Yeah.
And that's what she desired. She didn't want to have another cesarean. And so it was beautiful to see. And I just learned so much becoming a mom. Obviously, when you're not a mom, you're not thinking about all this stuff.
At all.
You're not thinking about all this stuff. None of this stuff is on your mind. None of this stuff is at the forefront. But my birth with my first, I had a miscarriage first, lost my first child. And then my daughter, who is the oldest now, my birth with her was so rough. Just because I just knowledge, ignorance, just didn't know what was going on, didn't know a lot of things. I was blessed to have the doctor that I did have. And he was very patient with me, but my skin began to turn black. I was in labor for 80 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yes, a long time. My skin was black. I did receive an epidural, but about, I'm going to say maybe 40 hours in, I could no longer even take them anymore. So technically I gave a natural birth.
Yeah.
And I received a natural sewing afterwards as well that I felt. But my daughter, in order for her to get here, my doctor, he had to force me to 10. So he had to place his hand inside, make a fist, and massage me to 10. Because I did not want to have a cesarean. And I was just so grateful. In the moment, you just be like, oh, but looking back on it, I'm just grateful that everyone respected my wishes,
Yes.
which was not common,
No.
at that time because my daughter is 7.
Yes.
So it wasn't common for people to respect your wishes. It was common for people to say, "Oh, your skin turning black, you getting sick, cesarean."
Yes. Most definitely.
But Dr. Romani knew my request. He
Right.
knew what I wanted. We had so many conversations, and he was an advocate
Yeah.
for no, no cesareans. Like, he didn't want to have to do those. He wanted women to be able to have natural births because he's not from the US, and so where he's from, that's what women do, is
Right.
have natural births. And so I was very grateful for him because the experience you talk about, the experience that I talk about, the number one thing is knowing what you're capable of receiving. A lot of people don't understand,
Oh yeah.
you know, their options,
Yeah.
and where they are. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, options. Oh my gosh, girl. Yes. I think just going into it, there's a lot of ignorance out there. And I'm not, I don't want to say ignorance in the sense of in a bad term, but just the lack of knowledge. You have to think about it. When we go into a store, right? You're a customer, right? And the customer's kind of almost always right, right? In most situations. It's the same way when you go to the hospitals. You are the customer. Your insurance pays them. They should treat you with the utmost respect at any time that you're in there. I don't care what they have going on with another patient or whatever. You are their number one. When you're face to face with me, you're my number one. And I think that the thing about it is that even even during my labor, we had a nurse that was very, very rude, totally throwing off my vibe with trying to get this kid out. And my husband fired her. And everybody was just like, "Oh my gosh, like you fired a nurse?" Yes. Yes. If you are throwing off my vibe, and this is the most precious moment of my life, I don't need attitudes. I don't need any of that. I don't need you coming in. If I'm asking you a question, hey, could you explain to me what it is that you're doing? Like, you're at the monitor and you just tapping some buttons and all this other stuff like that. And okay, the baby move. Okay, just whatever. And you're just, okay, explain to me. Let's walk me through this. And so after that encounter, and you know actually what she was doing was she was actually putting more pitocin into my IV. And she did not care how she put it in my IV. she I know that you're supposed to put some pressure in, with the syringe, but let me tell you something. She pushed it in so hard, I felt myself passing out. And Troy was right there, and he was just like, what is he was just like and he was just like, are you okay? So of course he's tending to me first, but then he went back, and that's how we came up with the whole idea of like, hey, you know what, we don't even want her back in here, because if you couldn't even tell me
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing, and then the way that you did it, like, we just that's not what we're looking for.
Right.
Yeah, you have to know your rights. You have to know what it is that you can and what you can't do. And that goes back to that whole thing of planning and actually knowing what it is that your doctor is for, what you're for, and stand your ground. And I'm in the process now of actually coming up with a nonprofit, because I do want to help fund doulas for moms and partners who can't afford it, because a doula is just your biggest advocate. They are going to be there to make sure, when you're always going to have somebody that's right there
Yeah.
in.
And some insurance companies don't cover. Most insurance companies don't cover it.
Exactly.
Right.
Now they're starting, you got some insurance companies now that's now trying to come out and say, hey, like, we'll help pay, some of the costs and things of that sort. But of course there's different packages that come with, the whole uh with whatever it is that you would like for your doula to help you with, whether it be the childbirth education part that's also tied into it, and then of course actually being there for the birth. Do you want her to be there with you a little bit before you actually go to the hospital? Because What you don't want to do is go to the hospital too early, because going to the hospital too early can equal one or two things. Either they're going to send you back home, or two, they're going to say, hey, you've been here too long. It's time for you to go and have a C-section, you know?
Mhm.
So it's actually, it's timing for everything. So you want to make sure that you have the most education. You want to make sure that you have somebody that's there. If that nurse is busy and something is going on in that room, somebody who can help you say, hey, this is what's going on right now. Okay, the baby's heart rate is at 61, 55, 59, whatever. Okay, baby is good. Hey, turn the monitor so that the nurse doesn't have to keep coming in every 2 to 3 minutes because the baby is moving around, because baby's
Right.
ready to come earthside, you know? So I just think it's just, I think it's the best investment that you can actually give to yourself,
Yeah.
or that someone can give to you. That is what.
Right. The nonprofit or somebody can give it to you. That's right. Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's very much needed. I've only had one client that had a C-section, and um I'm gonna try not to get emotional talking about it, but this is when I don't know if you're supposed to curse on here, but I'm gonna tell you, that's when shit got real. Um Never experienced the C-section before. So we go in, and everybody is just talking to me, and I'm just like, okay, cool. So I used to hear people say, oh, when you go have a C-section, like, it's called nail to the cross. And I'm just like, nail to the cross. I'm like, what are these people talking about? I'm just like, okay, whatever. So I suit up and everything else, and we go in, and literally nail to the cross. So across her
They make your arms and stuff. They put your arms out.
yeah, your arms are straight out and they're strapped down, and then you have a air tube that's going across right here, that's literally pushing you down on the table. And so I'm kind of in shock, because I'm just like, oh wow, so this is what they mean. So I'm trying to process all of this. The doctor comes in, and the doctor is 5 to 7 months pregnant herself. So I'm just like, so you're gonna look over your belly to do this? I was like, this should be very, very interesting. So everything starts going on or whatever like that. The first thing that kind of concerned me was that they had already had 3 pints of her blood in a cooler waiting. Our body runs off of 4 ounces of blood. So I was just like, okay, just emergency, like just in case. Okay, cool, whatever. Um, they proceed to do the surgery, and my client begins to tell me she can't breathe. And I'm like, okay. I look over at the nurse anesthesiologist. He's playing Candy Crush. And I was like, excuse me, sir. He's so into Candy Crush because it's at the time where, like, I guess the time was going down and you got to hurry up and crush so many candies or something like that, or he was going to lose that level. And I was just like, I know this dude heard me. Like, there's nothing uh light or whispery about my voice.
Not
So
at all.
so I'm like, excuse me, to the point where they actually stop, and they're just like, huh? And I was just like, my client is telling me that she can't breathe. At this point, she's crying. And I'm just like, okay. So I immediately go back to my client, and I'm like, okay, you can't breathe. Okay. He's like, okay, well, do you want me to just turn the air down? And I'm just like, is this the air this tube that's going across her chest? Because that's what she's complaining about. And he was just like, oh, I don't know if I know how to do that just yet. So now at this point, I'm like, okay, you know what? While you figure this out, I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to do everything possible that I can do to help this lady. So I actually take it and I pull it up with my hand, because I'm just like, okay, this is going to relieve the pressure from, this air that's pushing her down on her chest. And she's just like, okay, thank you. I can breathe. And I was just like, wow, imagine if I wasn't there. I all it plays in my mind just vividly, because I always think, like, what if I wasn't there? What if this was a father who was afraid to speak up? What if this was just a partner, period, that was afraid to speak up, or just was like, hey baby, I know you said that you can't breathe, but it's okay. No, it's not okay. It's not okay. And to just see that, because my client and myself, were the only Black Indigenous people of color that was in that room. And to see that, I was just like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. Like, I just thank God that I was there to help, because I don't know what would and could have happened at that moment. I just felt
While
like,
he playing Candy Crush.
right. And I was just like, okay, like it, after
Wow.
everything, after, the baby was here, everything was good. They got her back stable. Um, we did have a moment where we lost her a little bit, but she was able to come back. Um, but like literally when I got in my car, I cried for like 30 minutes, because that was my direct face on seeing and experiencing it. Like, we see the numbers, we hear the stories, but to actually see it face to face is one of the most terrifying things ever. Because
Yeah.
I take you on as a client, I'm saying, hey, I'm going to make sure that you're safe. I'm going to make sure that you're here with me, and we're going to walk this walk together. How we came in here is how we're going to leave, with just an additional person.
Right.
You
Right.
and it
You
is
don't gotta tell me. I get it. I get it. To be able to see it face to face when things happen, you've heard about something before, but now you're face to face with it. You're seeing the lack of care. You're seeing the way people aren't tending to the needs, and they feel like we're these strong Black women that we don't have pain. We don't. I don't understand that idea that we don't experience pain the way other people do, but it's historical. It's
yes.
historical, the reason that they think that. And I know it doesn't seem like it, but we've been here almost 45 minutes. So I want to talk about one more thing before we go. We
Okay.
talked about before the birth. Now let's talk about some after the birth. After the birth, because that's another lane that you work in that's really good. What about intimacy after birth? Intimacy after birth. When women are, they had the baby, they done went in for the 6-week checkup, and everything is good and clear. They done got the thumbs up. Let's talk about intimacy after birth. What we talking about? What's that like? What's that?
So intimacy after birth. I mean, that's exactly how we got in that situation. so so a lot of it is just actually getting back to the point where actually you feel safe. Um of course we want mommies to feel safe, and we want mommy to know that, hey, when you say you're ready, okay, be ready. So a lot of it just goes into I think it goes back to the whole thing of, like, I always ask my clients, and I actually have a class coming up October 9th. And one of the things that I ask everybody is, who taught you about sex? And the reason I ask you about who taught you about sex is because I can probably say, if I had 10 clients, I probably had one client that said, oh, my parents sat me down and talked to me about sex. And we just had that connection where I could just.
That'll be my kids, because I done already started having that conversation.
Right, exactly. And that's great and that's good. But you have some parents that they're just like, I'm not gonna talk to my kids about that. You just, in the era that I grew up in, the sex talk that we got was, don't bring no baby in this house. And it was just like, okay. But you never said anything about how I even get to that point and everything. And so that's the biggest thing, is going back to sexual education and knowing what it is that you like and what you want and what you don't like, and being able to voice that to your partner, because ultimately your partner can be doing things that you just like, oh my gosh, I just hate when they do that, or I don't like when they do that. And that's a turn off. But you want to be able to tell your partner, show your partner, and you guys both explore those things and say, hey, this is what I like. I like when you do this. And sometimes you have to learn that by doing a little self love. And that self love may be you with yourself, because nobody knows you better than you know yourself. And you can't explain anything or tell nobody else anything about you unless you've done it yourself. You know, you can't just look at porn, or you just can't look at some of these other things on TV and be like, oh, yeah, that's what I want. It may look good, but then your partner might not actually perform it the way that you saw it on that TV show or whatever it is that you watch. So a lot of it goes back to um, self love, sex and sex and sexuality, and just
Yeah.
owning that and just being you. Because one thing about it, it don't matter what you look like, what nothing, you are a sex beast. And I love to talk to women about being those sex beasts, you know.
And I think it's good. It's good because I work with couples, and we work through these different classes, but one of the classes is about sex and intimacy. And one of the foundation of the class, or the root of the class, is for, the partners to understand what gets the other person in the mood. Because a lot of times, what gets men in the mood versus what gets women in the mood, or what, whomever you are as an individual, is never the like you said, it's never the same. And so focusing in and understanding, okay, what makes my partner tick? Okay, this is what I like, and I'm doing to them what I like.
Yeah,
But wait a minute, what is it that they like?
right.
How else can I make sure that they're enjoying this moment or pleased in this moment the same way that I am? Because women got to be loved on all day to be
Yes.
in the mood.
Yeah.
You're not gonna just come in from work and be like, "Hey, girl, all right, let's hop to it." It don't work like that, because I'm gonna look at you like you crazy.
Right. It,
Hop to what? You know
right.
what I'm saying? So we have to be tended to, cared for throughout the day. Hey, girl, I'm just checking in. You sure look good when you left the house.
Right.
Just the intimacy is not only penetration. Intimacy is a conversation. Intimacy is a mental. It's an emotional. It's all these other things that we have to make sure we're doing.
Right.
But for men, I could just get out the shower, and it's that simple.
Yes.
But for women, it's not that way. So what I will say is, for the guys who may be watching, is if she just get out the shower and she look at you, smile, take advantage of the moment. You better,
Yeah.
that'll be one of your few times where you can just, everything is ready.
Right.
Otherwise, especially for some partners, love on your partner throughout the day.
Yes.
Love on them throughout the day. Give them a little, hey girl, I saw you. Oh, you was cute this morning. Your bottom looked good in them pants, or your hair was nice.
Right.
Something.
Yeah.
Say something.
And clean up too, guys, because we can't do it. Wash the dishes. You know what I'm saying? Clean the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a turn on within itself. Clean it up.
My husband cleaned the kitchen the other day. I was like, oh. I said, babe, and then I was like, but babe, you did such a good job. It's
Right.
not. It wasn't just like his regular cleaning. I
Right.
was like, well, what? You put a little extra on that thing. What's up? What's up? You put a little extra into this kitchen cleaning. I mean, he took all the mess off the kitchen floor, swept up underneath the cabinet, went into the laundry room, pulled everything out, swept and everything. I said, oh, come on in here.
Right. There you go.
Come on, come on. But yeah, I think that when we understand, we talk about them all the time, those love languages.
Yeah.
That comes up so often.
Yeah.
Those love languages, really understanding how your partner desires to be loved is such a big deal. So we're gonna get ready to get out of here, but three things. Give me three things before you go. If somebody missed the whole live and they only get to see the end, what's three things in any area? I don't care what it's got to do. Mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually. Three things you want people to know. Or if it maybe not three, maybe it's two, but that you want people to carry with them before they go.
I think the first thing is be in love with you. When you're in love with yourself, in love with yourself, everything else it flourishes. Is is just beautiful. Um, I think the second thing is hire a doula. Um, But I mean, I joke about it, and but I'm serious.
She ain't playing, y'all. She been trying to get me to do some doula work. I'm just like, Lord, can't add nothing else to my
Yeah,
plate, Jesus.
I know it. But and the reason I say to hire a doula, even if it's just even if they don't come to the birth, just hire one to actually help walk you through the steps. I don't care if this is your fifth child and you feel like you're a pro. You're never a pro. I feel like there's always something out here. Things are always changing in the medical field. Uh, so just do that. And the third thing, if they miss this, let's see, I said be in love with you, to hire a doula. And I'm just going to say be blessed because all of this, like, it's just, it's just blessed. I'm just in this space to actually share everything that I have going on. Girl, you look like you're struggling over there. You all right?
I am. My battery about to die.
Oh,
Hold
okay.
on. I was like, maybe I can do it without being noticed, but I can't. Hold on.
But yeah, so I wanted to say like yeah, just be blessed and just continue to do your research and everything will actually work out. Yes,
And
ma'am.
it will. Whew, mighty God. And it will. Listen. Right at the end, Jesus, you won't make me sweat. Right at the end, Jesus, make me sweat. Listen, I saw that little button pop up. Doo-doo. I don't know how I missed it. I missed you know how I give you the warning. Here's
Right.
the word before we leave. Sometimes we get the warnings, but we miss them. It popped up before now. It had to have popped up a couple of times before it got to this point, but I missed it.
There you go.
I missed it. And then I found myself in a position where I had to do something that I didn't want to do. That's the word before we go tonight. Don't ignore the warnings.
There you go.
Okay. And then the other part was prepare. My tablet, my computer was fully charged, but honey, this thing drains it. Okay. But anyway, you guys, thank you so much for being here with
Yes.
us tonight. I am so grateful. I know we went a little bit longer than we usually do, but it was just so good. So good. So listen, before we go, we're always going to say our prayer because we don't want to do anything without the Lord. God, we thank you for tonight. We pray as always that you're giving us clarity in all that we do, that our minds will think of you, our eyes will see you, our mouths will speak of you, our ears will hear you, our hearts will beat for you. The blood flowing through our veins will be for you. Our hands will be lifted to worship you, and we will walk within the footsteps that you have designed. And anytime we lay down to rest, when we wake up, we will be refreshed, renewed, and restored. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. This has been Mommy Mondays, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.